Hello, my dear friends out there on YouTube and Instagram. I'm making this video tonight for any of you out there that are taking drugs, whether they be pharmaceutical, prescribed drugs for different psychiatric conditions, whether it be anxiety, depression, psychosis, or anything like that. I'm talking about antidepressants, anti-anxiety, antipsychotic drugs primarily, such as benzodiazepines, stimulants such as Adderall, other altering drugs that are used for different conditions such as lithium, Klonopin, many others out there. I've even forgotten some of the ones that I used to take, but I took 17 different ones in 25 years. Or you may be self-medicating with recreational drugs, whether it be cannabis in different forms, whether it be stimulants such as amphetamines or cocaine or barbiturates or downers, Valium, opioids, any of those. Or even if you're just using drugs that are considered more culturally acceptable and legal, such as alcohol or cigarettes or caffeine. I'd just like you to know that it's come to my awareness and realization over the years as a longtime drug user and self-drug abuser that drugs are not the answer. They're really not. And they can help, some drugs can help short-term in some ways for some people sometimes. I would never say they can't. I think long-term habitual use of any drug, whether it's pharmaceutical prescribed drugs or self-medicating illicit recreational so-called drugs, I don't think it's a good thing for your health overall. So this message is to anybody out there who's doing that. If you're self-medicating with different substances, whether you're buying them on the black market or you're buying them legally, as cannabis can be purchased nowadays in many states, and using that habitually, or if you're using alcohol or those kind of things, or if you're taking prescribed drugs like some of the medications I already mentioned, legally and prescribed, but also habitually every day or very often, let's say. The downside of all these drugs is that they don't really enhance you. And I think the main purpose of going through our lives to want to attain longevity and have good health is to enhance our bodies, right? Generally now there's a consensus among most people that have some intelligence that eating well is important, that the standard American diet that we were told was good food for many years and my generation for sure, and even before, that wasn't good food. You know, steady diets of fried food, lots of meat, lots of sugar, food with fat and salt, processed foods, junk food, so-called junk food. These are not good foods for the body, especially long-term. It takes a toll. It will eventually lead to a shorter life and to disease before you get to the end. So it can be very miserable for a lot of people. And I've witnessed it and seen it. And I saw myself going down that road too. 10 years ago, I turned that around on diet. I took at one time 7 different prescribed medications for many years. Nowadays, I don't take any. I take 1 small blood pressure medication a day. That is it. That's the only drug of any kind that I take anymore, period. I've been addicted to cannabis for years, alcohol, cigarettes, caffeine, cocaine, heavy user of psychedelics for a lot of years. And none of those drugs in the long run really enhanced me or improved my health, even though I was convinced many times it was really doing me some good. At some level, I believed it. I wanted to believe it. So I'd just like you to know I can give you tips and advice and support if you're wanting to get off some of these drugs or medications or substances if you're taking them. I'm not trying to say I can represent the same value as a psychotherapist or a 12-step program or a detox clinic or anything like that. I'm not medically trained, although I have medical schooling. I have a number of years of health science studies, 4 years total. So I have extensively studied subjects like neurophysiology, anatomy, nutrition, human sexuality, psychology, and the like. So I do have some background, similar to what nurses would take, or even maybe some pre-med students. But on the other hand, most of my experience has been firsthand using the drugs themselves and getting off them. And I have gotten off some really nasty substances. The psychiatric prescription drugs were the hardest of all. It took me 6 months to wean off the 3 medications I had been on for 13 years at the end. I took them for 25 years total, a combination of 17 different drugs over those years. But at the end, I was on pretty much the same 3 there for the last 13 years. And very, very difficult to get off those drugs. Getting off cigarettes, off cocaine, alcohol, even pot, no comparison. Those were easy, cakewalk compared to getting off the psychiatric drugs. Very extremely difficult. Took a long time to wean off them because the side effects, the withdrawal effects, I should say, the withdrawal effects were horrendous. So Adderall was the hardest one of all. That was very difficult to wean off. It took 4 months. Comparatively, I got off alcohol cold turkey. Cigarettes took me a little longer. I quit using pot cold turkey. Caffeine, I weaned off that eventually. And cocaine, I weaned down off that. But I got off all those substances all on my own each time without any outside help or support or medical supervision. And the psychiatric drugs I also got off over that 6-month period all by myself. I used a combination of willpower. I buffered. I used some other substances, herbal things to kind of cushion me a little bit, if you will, as a supplement. And there were other measures I took as well. I had support from friends and people like that and family. And also I journaled when I did it somewhat. And also it was just painstakingly, heartbreakingly difficult. It was very hard on my body. And I wouldn't want you to have to go through that. I'd like to try to help anyone out there that has a drug issue or drug problem or would like to get off your medications to do it sensibly. And there is a way to do that. And I can guide you and help you, and I'd be more than willing to do that. Could do it on a one-on-one basis. If you want, we can get over on a social media app like WhatsApp or something like that, or Signal, and I can give you some guidance and support. And I'd be happy to do that for anyone. I've done it for a few people already, and I'm helping them. And I would like to help anyone out there who has a similar issue that is hooked on these drugs, which is what it basically is. You're hooked, you're addicted. If you have to take them every day, you can't stop taking them. You need them for whatever it might be benefit, like mood, helping enhance your mood, supposedly. Trust me, it doesn't really enhance you as a human being. It might feel like it's enhancing your mood, but it's not enhancing you as a human being, and it never will. In the long run, you will pay a price for it in your health. I guarantee you will, no matter what anyone else tells you. There are contraindications and side effects of all pharmaceutical drugs, and there are also hidden contraindications and side effects of even illicit drugs as well, just as much. So they both have their hidden price you're paying to be on these drugs if you're using them habitually. If you're just a casual user that takes a toke now and then or snorts a line once a year or twice or something like that, takes a drink at a party a couple times a month, I don't think you have any serious problems or issues with it. If you're even using psychiatric drugs with some moderation, such as Adderall, if you're only using it sparingly as needed, perhaps you don't really have an issue or problem with it, even though it is a neurotoxin. And it is amphetamine, and it's just a purified form of crystal meth. So be advised of that, be aware. Amphetamines, they're not healthy for the body. They're really not. There's so many other ways to go about it to get yourself healthy. If you need it for focus, I can understand that. There are other better ways to get your focus back, clarity. There's many different over-the-counter supplements that can help as much or better, in my belief system, in my opinion, in my experience. They help me much better than the Adderall or the other stimulants like that. So that's my final word today on drugs. I'm like a coach, you might say, willing to coach anybody who wants to take an attempt at weaning off and getting off their medications. But again, I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't try to pretend to be one. I wouldn't even want to be one, to tell you the truth, because most doctors don't know very much about nutrition or how supplements work, herbal supplements. All they're dedicated to doing is working for the big pharma business and dispensing prescription drugs from big pharma. All the black market drug dealer wants to do is sell you his drugs. And all the dispensaries for selling legal cannabis today, all they want to do is rake in the profits and sell you all the weed you want to buy. They have no interest in your mental health or physical health or your soul or your consciousness. They'll sell you those drugs every day as long as you want to buy them. I promise I will help you. Be well. Contact me if you'd like. Namaste.